Hey everyone, it's Karen Burniston here with just a quick kind of tips and tricks video for the Photo Collage Pop-up. So this is one of my favorite dies. It makes this amazing collage of photos that pops up when you open the card. It's a real crowd pleaser. I mean, everyone always loves this die. But it's precise, you know, I mean, you got to put it together just so, and you always kind of run the risk with this one because of so many moving parts that you could kind of create catch points that might rip your paper or something. So in our Facebook group, the Karen Burniston Pop-up Peeps, there was a thread going where people who were struggling a little bit with it wanted some more tips and tricks. So I said, well, let me do a video. That'll help everyone, right? So let me tell you about this die set. Okay, 13 dies in the set. There is full assembly video on it. The assembly video is when I make this card, and then there's another one on the product page that shows this card start to finish, you know, so you've got a lot of things to refer to. So this is mostly, this video is not necessarily a full complete tutorial on using it, but more about just kind of the tips and tricks and places that you might watch if you're having trouble, some things that you could look for to make your cards more successful with it. One thing to know is for the base itself of the twist panel spinner, that's this piece here, I'm going to recommend a heavier cardstock. So if you've got access to a 100-pound or 110-pound, that's my favorite for this piece alone. The other things, they can go back to your regular 80 or even smaller because you can always reinforce them with other layers. But for the base itself, I really like a heavy cardstock for that, okay? But I'm going to show you a couple other options if you don't have access to heavy cardstock. Okay, but we do. So this, I've got this 100-pound cardstock. One nice thing about the Photo Collage is that it's small enough to fit in a very small machine. So even if you have, you know, a cute little machine like I do here with my Easy Cuts machine, I can make a whole impressive Photo Collage pop-up card using just that small machine. Okay, so here's my 100-pound cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and draw in the folds that I can see clearly because they've been scored for me by the die. You do not have to do this if you were doing it, but this is just for the purposes of the video, showing you where all the score lines are in that piece. Now this also has 4 dots, dot, 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 and dot. And those dots are to help you put the arms on correctly for the spinner arms. So what you do, and this goes over in great detail in the videos, is you draw arrows off of those dots so that the arrows go in 4 different directions. So we go left, up, down, right. Okay? And then that's how we can place the spinner arms correctly. Okay, so folding. What you want to do is you want to turn it so that you can work this little mount and fold first, right? You just pinch it down and then back up again. Okay, we're not going back and forth and back and forth. We're not taking a bone folder to it. It's just a, you know, a finger fold on these, okay? Then we're going to do the diagonal. Down and back up again. Turn it, do the other diagonal. Down and back up again. Okay, now if you, these last 2 folds, it doesn't matter if you fold them now or later, but basically they're going to fold in like this, and eventually, but not yet, these 2 are going to twist and go together, but we're not ready yet. Okay, now we've worked the folds, okay? So now we're going to put the spinner arms on. Now it doesn't matter on the spinner arms whether they, whether they're in the same 100-pound cardstock. I mean, I tend to, it's sort of up to you. Let me show you the difference here. If you double, I know one of these isn't doubled. Okay, so the upper spinner arms, this one, see how this one and this one kind of flop or whatever? They have a lot of bounce to them. It's because you're putting the item really far out on the spinner arm, and I just have a single layer of 80-pound cardstock for that arm right there. Some people like that, you know, that it has that bounce to it. Other people prefer that those are more solid, that they don't bounce as much. And then in that case, you would just put 2. See, so there's 2 of them in there. So you can always double them up, and you can decide on a card-by-card basis. You don't have to even decide now because I can add it later. So, so you don't have to worry about the weight, you know, if you don't have the heavy cardstock for the arms, that's fine. But where these go is they're basically going to go on each of these arrows. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my adhesive on all 4 of them. So I'm going to do this kind of quickly. They have a tapered end that will allow you to line up that end with either an edge, like you see here, okay, or with a fold, like this one here. It doesn't have to go down into the fold. It's just tapered to help you make sure it's straight. Let's see how it's lined up with the fold. And that one's going, oh, sorry, I'm using glue here. Going kind of fast. Okay. This one, you make sure the ones that go on your up and down ones, they go under this section so that we can still bring that to the center later. And then this one like this. And on these ones, just have those arms not be jammed up next to the notch and not be jammed down to the fold, just basically in the middle somewhere, just kind of following. All right, so now we have spinner arms on, we have our folds done, and we can actually put this in a card. Okay, so that's another thing too that you can do as a best practices guide. You don't have to have the 100-pound cardstock for your card itself if you're planning on layering it anyway. So on all these cards that I have made, what you're going to see is that I've added pattern paper to the front and the inside panels, and then either to the back, or in this case I just added another layer of cardstock. I like to have a very balanced card, so I don't really want this side to be flimsier than this side, and since I'm always decorating the front, I go ahead and put a panel on the back, and you're going to see that commonly on all of my cards. So I've got paper here, 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 and here. So this cardstock might just be, you know, your regular 80-pound cardstock or even 65, but it becomes stronger because I'm adding all of that paper to it. Okay, same thing with this one. Paper on the front, paper, paper, paper on the back. Okay, so just plan on always having your card be pretty stiff and balanced, and that can be made either through a combination of very thick cardstock if you're not planning on wallpapering it, or if you are planning on wallpapering it, well then you can use any cardstock you want because the paper will improve it. You're also picking your card size. So A2 is pretty much your smallest for an 8 photo card. It's real hard to get 8 if you don't go at least an A2 because you come right to the edges pretty much everywhere. I love to go higher than that, you know, like a 4.5 by 6. You wouldn't think it's that much larger. You know, it's just a little bit wider and a little bit taller, but it really just does give you more space. You might even be able to add additional photos on the collage itself with a 4.5 by 6. That one's 4.5 by 6. This one's 4.5 by 6. Okay, and then another size I love is a 5 by 6. So there's a full video on this one. This was John's birthday card from last year. And I did put more than the 8. I think there's 10. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 10. Yeah, on the photo collage because I had the extra room for it. So if you do a 5 by 7 card, you can fit more on your photo collage. But especially if you're going to go bigger than 8, you know, like in this case 10, then you really want that strong cardstock underneath there to hold all that weight up. So yeah, I cannot stress enough that this piece here, your best friend, is a nice strong cardstock for your spinner. Okay, now let's talk about putting this in a card. So I've just got some A2 here, which is pretty much the minimum size. I've got my fold up the middle. If I were to wallpaper it, I would want to do it now, but this is just a sample for the video. So what you really want to do is you want to train your folds first so that when you go to put it in, you're not putting it in where it's like completely flattened down like this, but it's already learned those very, very essential mountains. So right here and here, there are some mountains. So let's see if we can see in a card here. See that mountain fold underneath there? Okay, those are essential, absolutely essential for this to operate right. So anybody that's, you know, they're spinning it and one of their arms is still stuck on the ground and it's not moving, it's because your mountain has collapsed, okay? Or it's ripped or something. So let's learn those mountains. Those are, since we've trained these folds, it should be pretty easy to get these little mountains trained coming up into the piece. So we're essentially folding it closed, okay, and we're creating those two opposite mountains, okay? Those are absolutely your best friends. Okay, so now if I go to put this in the card, and I'm only going to glue 1/2, it doesn't matter if I'm gluing this half or this half, but I only want to do one until I get this put together in a second. Okay, but I can look down through this hole to make sure that I'm lined up right over the fold, but I don't necessarily want to just go like this, you know, flat, 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 because it's already learned those mountains, so it has just a little bit of that mountain in it already. Let it keep it, you know? Like let it keep a little bit of that mountain, so to speak. So, okay, let me see. You know what, let me draw this is just a sample anyway. We're not gonna do anything with this. Okay, here's my fold, right? So I'm gonna put this vertically like this, okay? And then I'm gonna look down through and I'm gonna make sure that I'm right over the top of that. And I'm going to glue down, let's just say this side. Now that could be a strong tape or it could be a glue, but what I don't do, the way this spins, is it wants to be able to lift up these two sides, this one down here and this one up here a little bit. So a piece that I forgot to say, it's in the assembly video, is if you mark a little mark on opposite corners, that one and this one, it can help you when you go to do your adhesive to not have your adhesive all the way down. Okay, so what do I mean by that? I'll show you. Okay, so let's say I'm going to glue this half down. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to coat this whole panel with my glue, except I'm not going to put any glue up here where my pencil line is, or my pen line in this case, okay, so that has the ability to lift up and help it twist, okay, so it loves that little extra bit of give by not bringing your adhesive all the way up to the upper left or the lower right, which is the way it spins. Okay, so now I go in there and I just look down through my little hole in the middle and I make sure that it's right, very, very straight. You know, I want these mountains going straight, but I'm not pushing it down, you know, to where it's like flat, flat, flat. I'm just, you know, I'm just letting it keep its little bit of mountain because it needs that mountain. Okay, that mountain is what makes all the magic happen. So I'm not going like this, you know, to do it. I'm just like kind of letting it keep its mountain. Okay, then we can do these little twisties, right? You can do that because you can still lift it up because we've only done one half. So that if you've glued this half down, it's really hard to get these put together. So always remember to do your little notches before you put the other half down. Okay, and make sure that they are completely notched together. See, all the way, all the way. Don't leave them partial like that. That could be part of your problem as well. They need to go all the way. Okay. All right, now the spinner is coming together. In fact, if I keep that together, I can spin it closed into the closed position. You can see where it's going to be, just like this, and then it's going to pop open like this. But see how important having those notches be all the way together is? It didn't even want to close for me if I didn't have them all the way together. So it's a precision die, you know, take your time with it. But now we can glue this half down, and in this case we want to give it a little breathing room down here. Okay, I can back fold the card to put my glue on, or, you know, in some of the videos I think I showed, you know, with tape. You could do like a double-sided tape. I tend to be a glue person now. Okay, so now you have a choice, making sure those notches stay together. I can just press that down, you know, and see, I'm not mushing it down. I'm just getting it into the closed position. Or your other option before that dries is keeping those together, go to closed, and fold against it. Okay, so it's whichever way feels most comfortable to you, and maybe make a couple out of scratch paper first and decide which way you like. Okay, but what you want to see is you want to see this. Okay, a good operating photo collage does not ever again open up fully flat, because you want to keep the mountain. And as you can imagine, if I get that card perfectly flat, my mountains are going to get flat as well, and then they may decide they want to become valleys. You may have given them an option that we should not give them that option. That's why we want to keep a little mountain in those at all times. So the open position of a photo collage card, look on all of these, not quite flat, is it? If I kept going flat, then I risk, so it's not going to want to. I mean, nobody that gets it is going to go like, oh, let me see if I can open this even more. But the natural viewing position of a photo collage card has a little bend in it, so that can have a little bend in it, because we want to keep that mountain in it so that it always has really good operation. Okay, so that's, so you want to see this. So if you see this and you're like, oh, tilty, 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 it doesn't go all the way flat, that's good, because you're about to add a bunch of weight to all of these arms, and you want to keep those mountains in there. Okay? All right, so here's the thing too. Get to this point, and I mean work that thing back and forth and back and forth. Make sure that that thing's working well. If it's already making little creaks and catching and things like that you don't like, then maybe you don't have your notches all the way together, or maybe you put it in crooked, you know. Now's the time to get it, you know, before you start putting on your things. Okay, now for putting these on, I'm only going to guarantee that you can get 8 on there. You can always try to get more, but I'm not taking any responsibility, because I know it works with 8. And what I like to do is, you know what, I'm going to switch to a tape runner if I can find one. I always have one right here on my table. Here it is. Okay, because I want to actually reuse these for more demonstrations. Okay, the first two that I always put on are the two in the middle, okay? And I choose one, I line it up with this left edge, then I choose one, I line it up with this right edge, and I keep it out of the fold, okay? So normally I would use glue for that, but I'm actually going to just use a little tape runner because I want to be able to pull these off and use them for more demonstration. Okay, so, and I mean, every time I put something on, I check it. Did I somehow create a new catch point? Nope, it's working great. Okay. Then this one, put it right here. Again, I would normally take my glue and put it right on there to attach these, but, and I like to leave a little gap between them because, I mean, you know, they got to have room in there. See how they're going to fold down next to each other? Okay, so I got the first two. Once you have the first two, great. Okay, now I always go upper and lower, right? And these ones have to be very far out on the arm. So I need a scratch paper. Let's do this. Put a little tape runner just right out there on the end of that spinner arm. Okay, and then what we want for this one is we want it real high up and we want it skewed to the right because look what it has to do. It has to flip over. It has to clear this one and this corner has to not crash into the card. So there's a spot for that one and it's right there. Okay, now can you go a little cattywampus with it? Sure, you know, have fun with it, but it definitely needs to skew to the right and be far up on the arm. Okay, if you try and put it down way down here, guess what? It's not going to work. That's when you're going to start tearing things. Okay, if you've got a perfectly operating photo collage before you put your things on and then it breaks after, it's because you created a catch point or something caught on something in a way that you maybe didn't even expect. So you just always have to go slowly when you're first putting it together, you know, to make sure. Okay, then let's do the same thing down here. And again, I would probably use glue for this ultimately. You do the opposite. On the bottom one, it needs to skew to the left because it's got to flip over this way. It's going to go opposite the other one. See? Okay. And then on the ones on the sides, what they do is they slide along the card and in kind of close to the fold, see? So on this one, I have to place it up on the arm like this, not way down because it can't cross the fold or else I couldn't close it. So it needs to be up, whereas on this one, it needs to be down, see? So anyway, everything's kind of opposite, which is good. So let's see. These ones on these side ones, you kind of have a little bit more flexibility in how far in you go. It's more about that it needs to be up so that it can't crash into the fold. See, it's got to stay out of the fold. Okay, and then this one kind of the opposite, up here like this. Okay, like this. Oh, no, down. See, I'm not even paying attention to my own things here, right, because it's going to go right there. Okay, look, see, I got real close to the top of the card. That's why A2 is like, you got to be willing to move things because it just barely fits there. Okay, now it fits. Okay, that's my base 6 photos on my photo collage. And look, it's working fine, even though I have an actual pretty flimsy card. Now this, I mean, ultimately, I would probably want to put another panel here and a panel here to keep this stiffer so that it will, you know, operate forever. Your final two, they attach to the first two, kind of like this and this. And there is a potential for a catch point, so you have to watch this. So let's see. I'm going to just put my adhesive here. Okay, so I always say, put it on, check it, go slow. Okay, here's where you could catch. If it was too far up, then in the closed position, it can get behind that one. And then, oh, look at that. That's no fun, right? So you have to be willing to move these, and you have to go slowly with it when you're first putting it together because it's a puzzle. You know, we're trying to get this thing, 8 different photos going every different way, you know, into a beautiful collage when it's open. And then this one up here on this one. If you need photo help, there's a whole video on it, how you can print your photos and what size and all that stuff. I do them at Walgreens, or you can do them on your computer. Let's see. Ooh, it got real close on that one too. See that? Yeah, in fact, it was catching a little, so that means I need to move it to a different angle, like that. Okay. All right, look how beautiful that is. Okay, there is a 8 photo collage. I mean, it feels like this is beautiful. Look, I'm not even being I'm not even being gentle, you guys. I mean, it works. I promise you it works. But here's another way that you can break it. It works. Let me tell you how you can break it. This is what people do sometimes, is they forget that things are sliding along the card and they put something on the back of the card that a photo catches against. Look at that. See, if I put an embellishment right there, this is just made out of paper. So if you force it and it has a catch point somewhere, it might tear your paper. You know, that might be what ends up happening, where it has to give, you know. Oh, this one's a little too tall, isn't it? Let's see. That's why I'm saying A2 is really just your smallest size. Whereas if I just had a little bit more width, right, then I could make this a little higher. So, you know, anyway, to your liking, but if you can go higher than an A2, you know, you get a little more luxury in your thing. Okay, so there's a working photo collage right there. Okay, now let's talk about breaking one. Okay, so you know what? This one's working so well. I'm not even going to try and, well, I could, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to put one together with some flimsy cardstock. Here's some just really inexpensive 65-pound cardstock, okay? Let's put one of these together, and I'm going to break it, and then I'm going to show you how to fix it, okay? Let's do that. Bear with me here. We're recording live, so I don't have my editing going. But, well, you know what? I'm not even going to mark it. I'm just going to fold it and put it together. You guys saw me do it earlier. So we can get right to the breaking part. Okay, so let's get an arm on here. That's the thing, too. You keep making these things, and you're going to get really, really good at it, where you don't need to mark yourself, you know, lines anymore. You just completely understand it. It's just such a crowd pleaser. People love this die. When I first designed this die, after it was done, I actually said, oh, well, that's it. That's the best thing I've ever designed. And since then, I've designed some other things that I really like, but this is kind of one of my crowning glory kind of dies. But it is precise. I am not here to tell you it's not precise. It is. There's a lot of moving parts on this one. But stick with it, because it's totally worth it. People think you're, I mean, you know, even John, who sees this stuff all the time, when I gave him his birthday card last year, he was like, I mean, he just sat there playing with it over and over again, looking at all the pictures. You know, these are just pictures from his life and our life, you know, when he was a boy, and just trips we've taken and things. There's us with the Statue of Liberty. 50 candles. I got 50 candles on it. That was kind of difficult. Okay, so I've used flimsy cardstock. And I've got my mountains. Okay, so let's just do everything wrong, right? We're going to try and break it. Okay, so let me put my adhesive on. I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I guess I could try that, but that would probably surely break it. And then I'm going to try and put this as flat as I can in here, just to try to make it break. So let me... Well, crooked would definitely break, and I'm not trying to be unreasonable here. I'm trying to do a reasonable break that somebody might make. Okay. All right, so let's say we did it like that, and we put this together like this, and then let me get my adhesive on this side over here. Earlier, I came in here, I was like, I'm going to do this video, so let me figure out how to break one. I made it out of like the flimsiest cardstock, and then it still was working perfectly, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not any good. But I think I know what's going on. I think. I don't know for sure, because I can't see people's cards, you know, unless you send me pictures or something. But, okay, this one's working. Okay, it's working fine. But I think what happens when people have ones that break is either through a catch point or weight or something, they get a mountain that inverts. Okay, so let's see if I hold this down and try and see if it'll break it or get close. Yeah, see, it doesn't even want to close. And probably what happens at that point, I can see it starting to tear, is it's going to choose one of these folds to tear, right? Because what's happened is, see, that thing's sitting right on the ground. It's not lifted up like it should be. The mountain has collapsed underneath there, okay? And then it will not close. So let me see if I can close it until it breaks. Can I break it? Well, okay, well, it's not going to break on me. I wish it would. Let's see. Should I tear it? Let me just tear it. I'm going to tear it up the mountain. Okay, cool. Let's see. All right. Oh, look. I think I just duplicated what if you've had one tear. Oh, look. Is that what you're seeing? I bet you anything there's people that are watching this going, that's exactly what I've seen. Okay, so you got 3 arms spinning and 1 arm flat on the ground. Because why? The middle of your mountain has torn. And that's because this tried to invert. So either you open it all the way fully flat and it was like, you know, either this is flimsy cardstock or a catch point did it. I mean, it's hard to know what did it. I mean, I did it on purpose, but you know. Okay, now let's say you had this all fully decorated and this happened, you would be mad, right? You'd be like, oh my gosh, I spent all this time on it. So let me just show you how to fix it. That's what you want to do. Okay. So let's talk about fixing it after you've broken it. And I'm even going to assume your photos are on it too, but you can still do this. So it's okay. You're going to cut another one of these bases, probably out of the same cardstock you used the first time so it'll blend in. Okay? Let's cut another one of these. All right, what we've got is we've got a broken mountain, right? So we need a new mountain. So let's work the folds and let's get ourselves the spot that's broken. What's broken? That fold right there. So I need this piece. I need to cut out this mountain. Okay. I don't need the part that comes up over the top. That's going to be extraneous. So let me just cut on this fold line. And I'm going to get myself a little Band-Aid mountain like this. Okay. Now, if you had something like a score tape, you could have put that score tape on there first, and then when you cut it, it's already a sticker. But where you would want the score tape, let me show you that. Let's just do that. Where is my die? Right here. Okay, so we're trying to, let's see, here's even a little piece. We're trying to have it sticky on top, right? So let's put the center, which has cardstock in it. Okay, let's put the center over that so that this mountain is going to go over the sticky part, which, I mean, you have to have it has to be something that has a backing sheet, right? Otherwise you'll gum up your machine doing it. So only do this if you have something like a score tape. But you could use a few sheet, if you've ever die cut right into your scissors before, guilty. It's not fun. Okay, so let's do it that way. All right, so once again, here's my mountain that I'm trying to get, right here. This is my mountain. I'm going to cut on that score line there. I'm going to cut on that score line there. I'm going to cut on this score line here. Okay. There's my patch right there. So I've got this beautiful, beautiful card where I've broken one of the mountains and the other 3 are still working. Okay. We're going to peel this up. And if you didn't have score tape, just use your glue. Just score tape is going to be an instantaneous bond. So that's what's good about it. Okay. That's sticky on top. That's going to fit that perfectly because it's the exact same die, the exact same shape. So I just have to get it in there to repair that mountain. So that's a little fiddly, but I can do it. And you can't even do this with your photos already on it, because I've done it before. Not one of my cards, but I had a student one time that broke one. Oh my gosh, look you guys. Look who just repaired that. Look at that. New mountain underneath. That would work up here too. It's usually for some reason this bottom one that people report that, you know, whenever somebody said to me, I have 3 spinning arms, but not my bottom one, it's usually that's the one that they break. But it would be the same, because this is, it works both, you know, it's the same up and down. So you could do the same thing with this mountain here. Okay, so let's say you're like, okay, great. Could I do some of that ahead of time to where I can like sort of preventatively keep it from breaking? And as you know, I didn't put anything on this one. So if you use a heavy cardstock and you watch your catch points as you put it together, you should be fine. And you have a heavy card. This one's a little flimsy on the card. But let's say you wanted to do something ahead of time to make that more sturdy because you didn't have 100-pound cardstock. You can. You can do it with Tyvek. Is my favorite. So if you've ever had, one of those priority mail things come to your house that's got that Tyvek, man, I just keep one. Lasts me forever because I just use it for patching stuff. You can't tear this stuff. It's got fibers in it. It doesn't tear. So it's going to keep your cardstock from, well, even if your cardstock tears, the Tyvek won't. So what you can do is you can preemptively cut your twister. Let's see. I got a piece of paper here. Okay. Let's add this underneath where you're not going to see it using some score tape. And you know what? I'll just even put the side that has writing, I'll put that down so you don't see it. Well, you're not going to see this anyway. It's going to be underneath. Okay. All right, so here we've got some Tyvek. And you can get, I mean, if you don't, I mean, especially I guess if you're out of the country and you don't have priority mail envelopes that you can recycle, you can buy Tyvek and Tyvek envelopes and stuff at office supply stores. Of course, getting the thing off. We're tricky today. Okay, come on now. Awesome. Okay, so now I've got a piece of sticky Tyvek. I'm just going to sit that in the center because basically I'm just trying to capture my two mountain folds with that Tyvek, and but I want it underneath. I don't want to see it, so I'm going to, you know, maybe hold it up to the light or something so I can make sure that my mountains are right over the top of that, but I'm just going to guess. Because we're just demonstrating here. Okay, here we go. Nope, see, once again, I'm just bound and determined to injure myself. Craft ring. Okay, let's see how I did. Beautiful. Look, both mountains now have Tyvek behind them. And from there, I mean, it's exactly the same. It's just that you've reinforced the folds with that Tyvek. So, you know, it's going to be a little bit harder to fold it, right? Because it's double layer. But you can do it. And then, you know, and then I don't know, maybe you're going to have to use tab. I don't know about the adhesive on it. I did one just in a video with a twist panel that I reinforced with Tyvek, and I don't think I had any issues with my glue, you know, gluing it down with that Tyvek on it. But that would be another way, so you could kind of preemptively reinforce those mountain folds so that they can't tear on you. So even if the cardstock were to tear, which it probably won't because the Tyvek will keep it from tearing, but even if it tore, the Tyvek won't. Anytime I want to repair a card that has a pivot point or something that's torn, I usually try and use Tyvek. And I just use the die. I go into the die and I find whatever pivot point or something is broken on the card. Because, I mean, my cards, I mean, they go around, well, not anymore. But when I used to be able to travel, I mean, they'll travel with me everywhere. And there'll be hundreds of people opening and closing those cards. And they are still made out of paper. I mean, things happen. And I just fix them. So I'm going to give you an example of that, too, because I've got one here. Okay, so this is a super cute card that Fran Sabat on our design team made. I can see that she used some heavy cardstock for the, I mean, this one's been sent around the world. If it's got that on the back, that means it went to Hochanda. And when I got this back from Hochanda, it was just wrecked. There's no other way to say it. This whole thing was just wrecked. And so I couldn't fix it. I was like, well, I tried to go in there and like put a new mountain in and stuff, but it was just really, something had happened. And so I actually carefully peeled, I actually took my scissors and cut and took the old guts out of it and then cut a new one out of the same kind of cream cardstock and put a new spinner in. And then I just carefully took all of her photos off and then reapplied them to my new spinner. Okay, but here's something that I noticed when I went looking for this card today is I created a catch point because I probably didn't put this exactly the same spot that Fran did. And look how this one's trying to hit that cute circle that she's got. See that? I can feel it. Okay? All right, now if that happens to you, then you don't start over. I mean, if you can still move it, you could move it. But let's say you've already put this whole thing together and this was an afterthought that you put this on and then you're like, oh, I've made a catch point. Okay, just get creative. My thought was, okay, she's already got a cute little heart right here. I knew that was from the tag book because I know my dies. And I went and found the same little heart. Okay, and I'm going to put that heart on this card to make a slide spot. So instead of a catch point, oh gosh, sorry, that was very... So instead of it catching on that edge, it's going to slide over that heart. I just need to make sure I put that heart in exactly the spot where that photo is trying to catch against that circle. Okay, this looks like a good spot for it. Look at that. See how I fixed that? Okay, and I know that Nikki on the Pop-Up Peeps had a good idea too, is she puts kind of like those little clear things that you put on your cabinets to keep them from slamming. She'll put those little clear cabinet things on the back of some of them that are sliding to keep them. And it got me thinking, totally Nikki's idea, but it got me thinking, well, couldn't you even just use like a little enamel dot or something on the back to be a little slider for some of them? So try that, you know, choose a color that you don't think you'll use or whatever, or you could do clear ones. And then since I cut that heart, I now have two hearts on this side and me. I like things that are balanced. I like to have things in odd numbers like 3. So my thought was, well, let's add another heart, make it look very intentional. I'm going to look and see. It sure looks like a heart could go right there and not create a catch point against anything. I think I'm going to try it. Okay, so I'm going to try that right here. Fran's going to forgive me. She's very forgiving when I tell her. I even called her. I said, I have to fix the Filbert cards. I took a picture of it before I tore it apart, and then I tried to put it back together the way she had it so I could save all of her beautiful embellishments in her photos and stuff like that. So this is back good as new again. And it was catching. It was catching. It was catching to the point where if I had pushed on it, I probably would have torn something. So, gosh, you guys, don't give up on this die. This die is fabulous, and it just gets easier and easier as you go, you know, and then you can start doing fun things like clear fronts where you can see photos in the closed position and then they change when it opens, and, you know, you don't have to use photos on all of them or any of them, really. You know, this one is just some of our charms and animals. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Again, if you need a closer, tighter, longer tutorial, watch the assembly video on it or the one on the product page for John's birthday card, because that one was is newer. So, you know, it already incorporates some of the things that I knew from teaching classes that people were struggling with. So, you know, that's the thing about assembly videos is, you know, when I put them up before the die has really even gone out there. And so I understand it really well, but then it's when I get out and start teaching with it and get feedback from the customers that I understand where they're struggling. And then if I do another video, I try to address those things. But anyway, hopefully this helps. I'm going to get this up on YouTube and post it on the Peeps, and I will see you guys later. If you click on the website link, you'll go to KarenBurniston.com, where you can find out information about purchasing these dies, as well as links to all my other social media accounts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.